Hello, everyone. We are going to give it another minute or so to let folks join here. We opened it up just a tad bit early today. All right, folks, I think we're about ready to go here. Thank you for attending and welcome to our webinar today. We're going to show you how to clean and maintain R series printers. Before we start, there's a few housekeeping things we need to take care of. First off, attendees' microphones, webcams, and chat are disabled, but we do love to take questions. And to do so, there's a little icon up in the top right that's you can see on the screen here. It's got a little question mark in it. Please post your questions there. And also, we will do our best to answer all questions, but if some question doesn't get answered, we will definitely contact you and follow up with that, and make sure you get your answer. Also, the webinar is recorded, so we will definitely send this out to all attendees as well, so you'll have a record of everything. And to start off with, also, you'll notice we're going to be sharing sometimes two screens. If you want to adjust the size of the screens, there's a little bar between them. You can take that and click it and drag it up or down to get the screen that you would like. And this is the team today. I am Eddie Talbot. I'm the IT and Media Integration Specialist here at LogoJET. I'll be moderating, and Grant Priyu, he's our Technical Support Specialist. He'll be showing y'all how to clean and maintain the R Series printers. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Grant, and we'll begin.
I'll be going today through the daily, weekly, and monthly maintenance, and then I'll be finishing off with some of the replacement parts, such as like our cap tops and dampers. So first, we're going to go through the daily maintenance. Once a day, whenever you start up the printer, only on the days you're going to be printing, you do need to go through a few steps, which is going to be to shake up your white ink bags, run a head clean, and then do a nozzle check to make sure everything's printing correctly. All right, first, I'm going to move the carriage out to the middle by holding our left arrow key. That's so I can access the white ink bags. All right. Now, what I like to do to take these white ink bags off, I like to take a paper towel, and I'll grab the brass fitting or the plastic piece here. You never want to grab from this tube because that can tug out and you can get the ink leaking straight out of this brass. Grab from the brass or the plastic. I'll take a paper towel, fold that in it, take your ink bag off, and then with the paper towel and the tube, just push that into the ink tray. Now with the ink bag, you want to hold it horizontally and shake it for about 100 shakes to a minute. Your bag is rolled up. Whenever you're doing this, you do want to unroll the bag. That way the fresh ink goes to the back of the bag and then back to the front. You don't want ink drying up in the back of the bag if it's rolled up. Once you get through about a minute to 100 shakes, you want to then get your needle back out, ink bag in, plug your needle right back into the bag. Once both ink bags are shaken, if you have two on your printer, you then run a head clean. Whenever you have a head clean running, what's going to happen is the capping station is going to get a higher pressure against the print heads. The pump will activate to pull the ink through. The capping station will then lower. You'll hear the pump activate a second time. What's happening there is then all the ink that's in your cap tops drain to your waste bottle in the back right. The carriage will go to the left side where it's going to do a spray, then return back home. Now I'm going to auto hide the bed. I have a clear sheet down already at my 0, 0. Now with the bed auto hided, I'm going to hit nozzle check. All right, nozzle check finished. I'll bring this out. Okay, and there's a few things we're looking for in this nozzle check. So you're mainly looking at these horizontal lines on each nozzle check pattern. So for instance, you see here on white, there's one missing spot. That would be a single spot missing. If you have more than 10 on any color, you run additional clean. If you have 10 or less, that's good to go. That's in our tolerance range. Now, there's a couple things you're looking for on your daily maintenances. If you have the same spots missing every time, that can usually mean maybe some air is getting into your nozzles and that's drying up the print heads. If you have spots moving around, another signifier that you have an air leak somewhere. Maybe the damper or the cap top is either failing or needs to be adjusted. Now I'm going to switch over to our weekly maintenance. What we're going to do is lower the bed and move our carriage out to the middle. Bed all the way lowered. Now I'm going to go to RYPC. I'm hitting exit on the software. First prompt that appears, it asks me exit program, yes or no. I'm gonna hit yes. Second prompt appears, carriage back to protected position. If I were to hit yes here, the carriage would go back home and relock. I'm gonna hit no because I want my carriage to stay in the middle. Software closes, printer off. Right, the first thing I want to start with is getting some alcohol, and I'm going to clean our UV lamp glass and the print heads. Okay, so there's our UV lamp glass. I have a piece swab with some 99 or 91% alcohol, and you always wipe from back to front. If you ever have some alcohol that's dried up on the glass here and it's not coming off with the alcohol, you can always switch to UV cleaning solution. If you ever do so, you want to make sure you follow up with alcohol to remove that solution. Next, I'm going to move over to our print heads. For the print heads, we're going to use the maintenance flush solution to clean those. Same thing, back to front wipes. Never want to do circular motions or back and forth as that can start to scratch the print head over time. I'm going to take my alcohol piece swab from a minute ago and I'm just going to wipe around the print head carriage.
All right, we have a question from Steve here, and he's asking maintenance flush solution on the print heads rather than alcohol.
Yes, we used to advise alcohol, but we have developed a new solution for the maintenance on the print heads just to avoid them from drying out, make them last longer. That is what we recommend now. I'll show you the bottle here.
Might need to zoom out a second. The
Yep.
autofocus is, there you go.
There we go. Well, almost got it. I'll put this back on.
Also, Grant, we have a question here from Melissa. She's asking if we, I'm assuming she was using a different swab for each head. She was wondering our recommendation for using, like you did, one swab on all the heads.
Yes. Well, on the swab I was using, every time I would wipe a head, I turned the swab around to get a cleaner spot on there. You don't want to keep wiping on the same spot because then you're just wiping ink on there. But if you have enough solution on the swab and a large swab like I had, you can just turn the swab and wipe with a clean spot. Right, now I'm going to be cleaning the cap tops and wiper blade over on the right side. Just getting some more alcohol and a swab. Starting with the cap top, you want to wipe just the outer sides and also cleaning these little screws around them. Over time, if there gets enough alcohol on these screws, it can start to eat through the metal and strip them. Well,
Hey, Grant, we have another question. The name of the solution for the heads was maintenance flush.
yes, maintenance flush solution. And now our wiper blade. Wiper blade, I'm just going to tilt north. I wipe the rubber. Whenever you're done wiping the wiper blade, you do want to tilt it back northwest. Otherwise, there's a sensor in the back that will be tripped and you'll get an error. So we just want to make sure it's pointing about northwest. All right, back on the UV lamp, we're going to go and switch out the filter. So I'm going to need to take off the cover here. Also, just to mention, the reason why we turned off the printer is that all the motors unlock. If the printer is on, the wiper blade won't turn by hand. And our filter here, once a week, I'm going to change out this little piece. If yours looks white like this still though, if you didn't either get to that much printing or you didn't have enough overspray come back up onto the filter, you can keep it. But once you start developing these little circles on the filter, see if it focuses. There you kind of see it there. That's when you want to change it.
Grant, Randy's
Yes.
asking recommendations on should they have the cover on at all times, or can it operate without the cover?
It can operate without the cover. Sometimes I'll recommend even keeping it off at all times, just so that if anything ever gets like tugged out of place, if you have an operator that's going through maintenance and something unplugs, to get to that emergency, you have to then take the cover off, and it might have had some leaking like by that time. With it off, you can get to situations pretty quickly. So I usually recommend keeping it off. If you are in a really cold climate and you can't temperature control it, it usually is recommended to keep it on because it will insulate inside here better. Okay. And the last part of our weekly maintenance is going to be to go and clean and oil our carriage rail. We catch the right side, just wiping off with some alcohol on a paper towel. Get the left side. And then because the printer's off, I can just move the carriage over to get the spot underneath it. And then you take some oil, and we're using the Zoom oil from our website. And you're just going to put 2 drops of oil on the rail. And that's this rail here. It looks like a V-shaped trench right here. I'll drop there, carriage back over, another drop here.
And Grant, we have a drill down question about the maintenance flush solution. Which there are a couple different varieties available on our site. So which specifically one are you using right now?
There should be one for the R series. Let me check real quick. Okay, so it's going to be UV maintenance flush solution for all H2 and Inspira series ink. The SKU is LJ-2151 UV cleaner.
Thank you,
Comes in
Grant.
1 liter and 220 milliliter bag. Okay, now we're going to move on to the monthly maintenance, which is going to be greasing and oiling our belts here. So I'm going to grab out some lithium grease. Starting on the right side, going to put some lithium grease onto our white belt there. If you have a pretty dry printer, you want to put a good amount on there, right on the white belt. Okay. There's a second belt in the back there that goes around our motor, right there. I'm going to do the same thing to the left side. Okay. Back to the capping station. We're going to apply some oil to our station here. Same oil from the carriage row, that's Zoom oil on our site. We're going to be applying it to the left and right pillar and the springs. The
And
Zoom
Grant,
bottle from our site has a little spigot at the end that you can pull out and get to these back springs.
hey, Grant, we have a further question about the solution. Bradley here is asking if you have the other one, can you still, the other solution, can you still use that, or is this is the
He's
one you're
referring to the
using?
UV solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you use that solution, the only thing is you have to follow up with alcohol. So if you wipe the heads, make sure you follow with alcohol, 91 or 99%. All right. And then now we got the X-axis rail greased. We have the capping station oiled. Now we're going to be applying some lithium grease to the carriage, or sorry, the bed rail underneath here. It's shielded by this cover, but under here there is a worm gear, and if you put your hand in here, you can feel it. Looks like it feels like a giant screw that goes across to the back. And same thing, just put some of the lithium grease into there, and when the bed moves forwards and backwards, it'll work itself in. And
And
there's
Grant,
one more spot. Oh yes.
yeah, after you're done with this, I just wanted to give you a fair warning. We're going to pause for just a second. There are a few questions coming in that I don't want you to get too far away from them before answering.
Sure thing. I'm just going to turn on the printer real quick just so we can access the last belt, which is underneath the bed under a cover here. Right. To access it, I'm going to bring the bed up. Now with the bed up, it reveals a panel under here. There's a screw on the left, right, and in the middle, right here. And you do want to try to grab it before you start, when you start doing that last screw, because it will fall. Pull that out. And inside here, it's kind of difficult to show, but I'll bring the camera out. If you look in there, there is another white belt. So we're just going to put lithium grease on that belt teeth right there. And this belt is for the Z axis. Right. All right. So any questions so far?
Yeah, we've got a few piling up. I just wanted to catch up to them before you got too far away from where they were demonstrated. On the filter, Hamza here is asking, do you change it only when it's dirty, or do you have to change it once a week?
Only when it's dirty. So if you don't, if like same thing with the daily maintenance, like you don't have to do the daily maintenance daily. It's only whenever you're going to start printing for the day. Now, in that instance, we do recommend printing at least once a week just to keep the ink flowing, but you don't have to do the daily maintenance daily. If you don't print a lot one week and the filter is clean, you don't have to change it out.
Okay. And the next question is Melissa's asking, does the oil or the cleaning solution ever expire?
After about a year, it does start to lose its potency, but it's still usable. And then after 2 years, we'd recommend usually swapping out the UV cleaning solution. The oil does not expire.
All right, so Alan here is asking an interesting question. The oil that's being used, is it similar to sewing machine oil possibly, or is it, or what would be the difference?
Yes, it is very similar to a sewing machine oil. That's it's actually should be what it is. Zoom sewing machine oil on our website. Don't use a 3-in-1 machine oil, as that can start to gunk up the rails and that'll burn out the motor over time. Not right away, but over years of extended use, that could burn it out.
All right, and Stephen has an overall question here. What do you do if your office is closed 3 or 4 for a 3 or 4 day weekend, and for up to 2 weeks possibly?
So over a 3 or 4 day weekend, we would usually run some cleans before we shut down for that last day, and then whenever we get back into printing after the 3 or 4 day weekend, we just go and do a couple cleans to get the ink flowing back through. If you're going to be gone for more than a week, though, that's where we usually recommend flushing and storing the print heads. So we would connect. So actually, first what we would do is disconnect our dampers and tubes here. We would flush alcohol, not alcohol, but If you don't have any flush solution, you would flush alcohol through it. If you have flush solution, you use the maintenance flush. You flush through the print head. Once you have a clear stream on there, then you do the storage solution through each print head. After that, you then flush your tubes and dampers with alcohol, then air, and then we use what's called like jumper tubes. Sometimes you can find them in your briefcase, but it's the same material as these long tubes, but we'll connect the front of the print head to the back of the print head to close loop the system. That way, no air or ink gets to them.
All right. And Steve's got another question. Greasing, he's saying greasing monthly seems like a lot, and should we clean the belts and screws in any way? And he says on the 2400, cleaning old oil off the rail was one of my first steps.
Yes, exactly. If you start seeing some gray grease on the belts, we usually wipe that off with a paper towel and some alcohol, and then we'll reapply the white lithium grease. All this is doing, it is quite a bit of greasing, but all this is doing is making that motor last longer. Oiling the
And
rail, that doesn't mainly do too much for the motor. I mean, unless you're doing 3-in-1 machine oil on there. But what that's doing is just helping it from not screeching across.
okay. All right. And another question from Issa is there are written instructions for this somewhere, and she's saying she'd like to print it out for
Yes.
her staff.
Yes, if you go to your LogoJET Dinner Move folder, there should be a maintenance and repair folder that has all the PDFs on this, and it also has a PDF on where to oil and grease all these belts and the rails.
Okay, great. And that's on their computer that they're running the printer on.
Yes, it should be on one of our files. There should, or usually on the desktop, we'll put the LogoJET Dinner Move folder, and then there's going to be a maintenance and repair folder.
Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. So Alan's asking, we have the hygrometer on the printer, displaying humidity and temperature.
Mm.
And what is the humidity and temperature range that's optimal for this printer?
Yes, so the range is 68 to 77 for the temperature, and then the humidity is 40 to 60%. Um, Humidity is mostly for static. Whenever you are in lower static, or sorry, lower humidity environments, you do get a lot more static buildup. And so we have to take extra steps as like putting a static brush over the product or using the static wands. Sometimes we even have to put like a rubber mat in front of the printer if it's like a carpeted room. And then for the temperature, if you fluctuate too low and too high rapidly over time, that can damage the ink. There is a tolerance because obviously we do ship the inks and it can get hotter in like shipping trucks and whatnot. But we haven't had any reports from that causing issue. It does have a good bit of a tolerance on there, but extended temperature fluctuation for over like a month or so can start to damage the inks. And what you can get from that is lower temperatures will start to congeal the inks, mainly that white because it is that thicker pigment. And then hotter temperatures can make the ink looser. So if we were at 90 degrees for a month, I have had situations where the ink will drip out the head or cause more like overspray in your prints.
All right. All right. Next question is from Bradley here. He wants to know, what's not know, wants to walk through the dreaded damper fail.
Yeah.
He says, I'm sure we've seen this and many don't know to look in various panels for leak.
Sorry, repeat the question again.
I'll just read it to you verbatim here. Uh, He says, this is an odd question, but can you walk through the dreaded damper fail? I'm sure we have seen this and many don't know to look in various panels for leaks.
Oh, yes. Okay. So over on the right hand side of the printer, if I can get this lower, there is this side panel here. Inside of here, you'll have your motor on the bottom end of the capping station. So where your capping station is on the inside, underneath you have a motor hanging. And so whenever a damper will completely fail, ink will go through that motor and then drip into your side chases here where you have a lot of wiring and boards. Now, I was gonna get through next, but basically whenever a damper fails, it's usually caused by a couple things. It could be that ink had dripped onto the damper, and so over time that'll eat through it. So we want to make sure the dampers don't have an excess amount of ink just sitting on it because the ink is corrosive. The other thing, once the damper gets past a year, the internals start to break down, and then that can cause a critical failure in the damper where it leaks out. Other than that, we have had where if you don't tighten that brass fitting on the damper, which I'm going to go through that soon with the little metal wrench that's in the briefcase, it won't might not be as tight, and so air will leak in over time, and then you'll have the same thing where ink just drips through overnight.
All right, thank you, Grant.
Oh, and actually, the last part of our maintenance too. If there's no more questions,
One more actually.
okay.
Let's see. Hamza is asking how often should I be, I'm assuming treating the oil with oil on the machine, and after cleaning it, how long do I need to wait before I can start printing again?
After cleaning, after we wipe the heads, we'll have to run a head clean because whenever you wipe with the alcohol, you kind of wipe out your nozzles. So you have to run a head clean, and you go through your nozzle check. If that looks good, start printing. You can go basically that right away after doing your maintenance. And then
Okay,
the oiling for the rail here is once a week. You wipe it clean, and then you just put 2 drops of oil on the left and right side.
okay. All right, thank you, Grant. That's all the questions for now. So, yeah.
All right. And I'll say the last part of the monthly maintenance is to check your waste bottle in the back right here. This bottle here near the power cord, after about a month, that's when we usually start seeing it around the halfway point to full amount. Every time we do a head clean, it fills up that bottle about 1 millimeter. What happens is whenever your tubing that goes into that bottle is submerged, no ink is going to pull correctly when you do a head clean. Then you have a second waste bottle over on the left side here. This one's every 3 months. You just have to remove this side panel here and you'll get to that second waste bottle. Now that one is for the waste box. So you may check it and you'll have no ink inside of it. It may take a while, but we do recommend just checking it every 3 months. If there's no more questions, I'll go through the replacement parts, the damper and cap top and the wiper blade. I'm going to move our carriage out to the middle.
All right, we have a question that, um, one more question
Yes.
come in. Alan's asking, is there an issue with wiping the heads with foam brushes and 99% alcohol with the machine powered on?
There's no issue with the machine powered on, but I'd have to see what the foam brushes are. We usually recommend microfiber or like those P swabs because they don't have fibers on them and they're really soft so where they're not going to scratch the head. Although if you're referring to the P swabs I was mentioning, then no, there's no issue with cleaning it while the machine's on. The reason why we turned on them off the machine is just to unlock those motors. Okay, I'm just trying to get you all a view of the cap tops. All right. So every 6 months, we recommend replacing these rubber caps and the wiper blade over on the left side. Reason for that is just over time, the cap tops from being pressured against the print heads and having ink around them and in them does start to make them a little more brittle, and so they won't get a suction from your print heads. So what you can have is air leaks, so that'll start to clog the head, or you can have air leaks causing random missing nozzles around your nozzle check. What it can also do is cause overspray, banding, or even ink opacity issues. So sometimes you can get like a full nozzle check, but because you're not getting a good suction, it doesn't have like that full opacity, and so your ink will look a little faded. So every 6 months, we just go and replace this rubber piece. It's just the 6 Phillips screws around it. Remove those. And I'm not pulling any of these screws out of it just because they're so small. I don't want them to fall out. So I actually just unscrew them and I'll take the whole piece out completely with the screws still inside. I'll show you what I mean in a minute here. Okay. The screws are still kind of in that rubber. Here we go. I just unscrewed them and I got the whole piece off. Now we're just replacing this rubber piece. So just take the metal and the rubber and just peel it off. Just like that. So the screws are still in there. Now I'm gonna get our new cap top and I'm just gonna push the screws through the cap top.
Grant, Steve's asking, with replacing the cap tops, will there be any need for recalibration?
Not at all. No, sir. On the cap top, when reinstalling it, I am going to go around it evenly and tighten each screw down a little bit, and I'll just keep going around it. You don't want to tighten one, then make it all kind of lopsided, then your back screw might go in crooked. So I kind of just do each screw a little bit at a time until it starts to flatten out.
And how often should we replace these cap tops?
These are every 6 months, along with the wiper blade to the left of it.
Right. And also in the dump tank area, someone's asking, Bradley here is asking, is there a maintenance cycle for the pad itself?
So the pads, it's mainly up to you. It's if it produces a smell and it bothers you, we'd recommend replacing it. But the pads don't necessarily need replaced. There's nothing that's going to cause like an issue with printing, basically. But it can start to produce like a chemical smell in the room if they're not replaced at least once a year. And I'm just going to like a hand snug on each screw. Once they're all at a hand snug, then I'll usually do a quarter to a half torque further on each screw, just so it's tight down. Sometimes if you just stop at a hand snug, whenever you start doing your first clean, it will put against pressure on the cap top and it will reseat it. And then all the screws are slightly loose and that'll cause the air leak. So I go just a hair tighter each one.
Okay. Great. We have another question from Alan here. Do we need to wipe the underside of the cap station before a new cap is installed?
If there's an excess amount, but it's not necessary. I'm gonna do the wiper blade. Wiper blade's just these two screws here, two Phillips here and here.
And Grant, also on the wiper blade, we that is a 6-month replacement on that one.
Wiper blades every 6 months, yes.
Okay.
So that blade came off. New blade going on.
Great. We have another question from Alan here. Does the wiper blade have a direction? Like, is it or is it can you flip it and
Yes.
it's the same either
So
way?
kind of hard to see, but the way the corner right here is kind of pointing like this in that direction. It points towards the right.
And Bradley has a suggestion. It's not really a question, but he's suggesting that you take pictures before doing this for the first time. He said it helps in the reassembly.
Absolutely. Yes.
No calibrations are needed after replacing the wiper blade as
Nope.
well.
Just make sure it's pointing back north to west. There's a sensor in the back that's gonna flag whenever you turn the printer back on, and it'll know where to put it. Okay. So next, I'm going to be doing damper and tube replacement. I'll kind of demonstrate how to take it off of the printer. So whenever you have to take these dampers off, I like to take a paper towel and I'll pinch underneath the damper here, this little connector tube. And you never want to grab the narrow sides of the damper. The flat sides of the damper. You just want to grab the narrow sides. Pinching on the small tube underneath, you just wiggle it back and forth and it comes right out. You don't want to tug upwards because that can then splatter ink everywhere. The reason I get that paper towel underneath is because then if there's a little bit of drip, I can catch it real quick. Once I have that, then I grab my needle. I can go off to the side to replace. So to replace the damper, you have to unscrew the brass fitting from the damper threading. And then whenever you go to put a new one on, you get the new rubber O-ring. It's this little red ring here. Put that on the tube. Take your damper, slide it in, and you come back with that brass fitting. Going to catch that little O-ring, and that's what creates that air seal inside. And if you can get it all the way down snug like this without the red O-ring popping out and without using the wrench, then it should be good and sealed. But if you're struggling getting a good grip on it, that's where you can use that small wrench I had mentioned, which should be in your briefcase. It'll wrap around the brass fitting, and then you can crank it tighter. After which you then just plug your damper back into the connector tube and plug right back into your ink bag. Any questions?
Not yet.
Okay. So dampers are once a year. What happens after a year, like I mentioned, you can get air leaking in, and that can cause first missing spots randomly throughout the nozzle check. But whenever you have a critical failure, it'll start to drip ink or it'll drip out overnight, and then that can overflow in the capping station, go down through your motor and onto boards and wires. It's very important to always replace these at the year mark and to make sure that that brass fitting is tight. Other than that, you have your ink bags. Ink bags have expiration dates on them. They usually last about 9 to 12 months from when you get them. If you are printing daily, typically you'll have to replace them before that expiration even occurs. Right? That should be everything on daily, weekly, and monthly maintenance and the consumables. Your print heads is the only thing I missed out on, but that's just because I didn't have to replace it. Your print heads are on average going to be every 2 years, but sometimes we can get a little more life out of that depending on if you're keeping up with that maintenance and the weekly maintenance.
And Grant, we have a couple more questions coming in from Steve. He's asking about priming the damper once this is done.
So if you change all your dampers, you could just run a head clean. But if you only change just one, then we can get a syringe and just pull it through. I'll show that
Okay.
right now. Just
Yeah.
let me get a syringe. Take a syringe whenever you have a new syringe. It should have the yeah. Yeah. Connect it to the bottom here and just pull. You get most of your syringe pulled, you can disconnect, empty out the air for a second pull.
Come down with a little bit with your hands, Grant. You're off screen. Yeah, you go.
There you go. And I just did my second pull and I got a little bit of ink in. I'll push it a little bit back into the damper and then I'm gonna disconnect. I pushed enough just so I could see like the bubble here inflate just a little bit and reconnect it.
All
That's
right.
it.
Alan's asking, how often is there a maintenance schedule on the feed tubes going from the print from the inks to the dampers?
So we recommend to change them along with the dampers at the year mark, but they can last a lot longer. It's just it depends on how many times you're having to unplug and plug them in. So over time, the ends can get a little bit widened, and then they won't plug in like start like real tight, and then they can just pull out easy. So they do have a bit of slack on here. Some people will just cut the very end where it's getting a little expanded, and they'll just use um, like a shorter part, like maybe like right here is where they plug in to the very end instead. Same thing on the damper, but you don't want to do it too much because then you'll run out of slack and then it'll be really tight here. But besides that, if you ever have any issues where you tubing clogged or you had expired ink running through it, usually then we'll usually recommend swapping it out just to avoid any cross contamination.
Okay. And we have a question from Melissa here. I'm going to read it verbatim for you here. I feel like some of the fibers of the porous pad are starting to stick up through the grate on the left side.
Mhm.
So I assume she should replace the pad. And does extra pads come in the briefcase, or does she have to buy a new one?
There should be some in the briefcase, but you can also try like take your the top grade off and then flip the pad upside down. If you're talking about the porous pad, try flipping it
Yep.
upside down. The other side's usually pretty clean, unless it's fully saturated. Yeah, probably a good time just to swap it out.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
And Bradley's asking, is it just 4 screws to get to the pad, or is there any other? Um,
It should just be these four screws right here on the top. That's it. And
okay.
this the top shield comes off and you can change them. Now, if you have a 90R on the earlier models, they do not have the screws, and we have to get a dental pick and then pull the metal like grate out, and then we just kind of push it back in underneath once we
Okay.
replace the pads.
Great. We have a question that's not about the printer. Alan's asking, how do you get the ink off your hands?
Grit soap. I'm not so worried about it anymore because I have lava soap, but lava soap or any kind of grit soap takes that right off. Off your fingernails though, the only thing I could see is like just over time or alcohol can get off your fingernails, but yeah, grit soap will take it right off your skin.
And Melissa's also asking some more about the pad on the left. Should you always wipe the grate with the ink on it before you start the day, or is there any sort of
So the point of the grate is it's supposed to disperse the ink that way it evenly goes in the pads and not just build up. So technically you shouldn't have to like give it a wipe, but if you're noticing that it's starting to dry up, then you can give it a quick wipe with alcohol before you start, like maybe once a week, just check on it. But the point of it is supposed to disperse, so you don't have to wipe it.
okay? All right. And is that it for your demonstration, Grant, or
Oh,
is there
that's
another?
that should be it. That's the monthly, weekly, and daily maintenance, and those are your main parts you're going to need to be replacing just to keep the printer maintained.
Okay. We also have another couple of questions coming in.
Yeah.
Melissa's asking, what about sensor cleaning and encoder maintenance?
So the encoder, if you're in a an office space, we usually don't have to even go and do the encoder. But if you are in more of a warehouse where you have a lot of dust and debris coming in the back here, you have your encoder strip. this clear film right here. We'll wipe across that with alcohol and just check for any kind of major scratches on it. What a scratch on it would look like is like a horizontal white line. Now, it's not a part of our weekly or daily maintenance because usually if there is an issue, you'll get an error 131. That means it's not being able to read that encoder strip. And we try to avoid, not avoid, but it's better not to have too much cleaning on it just because then if you aren't watching, you can take it off the brackets on one of the sides or out of the sensor, and that will immediately scrape it the next time the carriage goes over. So we really only clean it if we get that error. And then the
Okay.
sensors, same thing with the sensors. Only typically when we have an error will we clean them. But here's one of the sensors here, right there. I'll show you how to clean that. I'll get a piece
Yeah.
swab.
And also, the cleaning the encoder strip should be done with microfiber, right?
Yes, absolutely. So the sensor here, you're just cleaning this middle section here in between this and here and here. This is where the sensor shoots across. You just go in between. That's it. There's a second one on the right side of your capping station. On this model, there's a plate protecting it, but on the right side, you have another one. Those sensors can also flag error. Well, the one on the right side by the capping station can sometimes flag error 131.
Okay. Well, folks, thank you so much for all of the great questions. Yeah, it was got really into depth here. Also, I'm going to share a couple of resources with you. Here, give me just a moment. These are the replacement consumables that you can find on our site. You can also just scan the QR code to be taken to the printer maintenance page. You can also get to that if if you lose the bookmark or something. It's in our on the website under support and printer maintenance, and you can find your printer and find all this as well as maintenance checklist as well. Also, up at the very top of your screen, there is there's one of the icons is downloadables where you can get the checklist as well. But you can either download those today or check our website. They're available there as well. And on our website, if you click technical support, we also have a online learning customer portal that has a lot of these resources and just general knowledge about the printers. And this is once you're logged into it, this is what the portal looks like. You can browse knowledge, watch training videos, view FAQs, and get to your resources that way.
And to answer Alan, that's also where the past recorded webinars are inside that community portal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And also, just a general overview of our support structure. Our team, we have a large support team. We are available 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central. And we also provide on-site operator training, service and repair, remote training, support and troubleshooting. There's also ICC customized color profiles services, uh, custom product application testing if you're printing something new, and we also have multilingual. We have several guys that that are Spanish speakers as well. And also, just wanted to thank you guys for joining the webinar, and want to provide you a 10% off of supplies using this code 10spring26. And it's valid through 4:30. So if you have something you need right away or want to stock up, get a little bit of a discount. And folks, thank you very much. I think that concludes the webinar, unless you have any other questions. I believe we've covered most of it. So let's see here. Yeah, yeah, you're welcome. Everybody's saying thank you, so appreciate that, and hope y'all, you know, uh, got a good handle on any questions you had. And thank you very much for again for attending, and thank you, Grant. Appreciate your knowledge.
Yeah, no
And
problem.
with that, just to reiterate, the uh, the webinar recording will be sent to you as well. So yeah, you'll have a reference for that. But don't forget about our support resources, and we're always happy to help. Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you.